Good evening. Just imagine what would happen if all the councils in the Lower Mainland decided to clamp down and close all these illegal suites. There'd be 50,000 families out in the streets looking for a place to live. Quite a problem. We'll talk about it. But first, Ted with the rundown.
Will teleshopping be the wave of the future or a death knell for department stores? Tonight, Webster looks at both sides of teleshopping with Nanaimo Mayor Frank Ney and Ken Fowler of Shaw Cable. Mega houses and illegal suites? Not in our neighborhoods. City councils throughout the Lower Mainland have sworn to get tough on bylaw breakers. That's the word from Burnaby Mayor Bill LeWarn, and he's up first with Webster.
Bill LeWarn, Mayor of Burnaby, you must be the first to plead guilty to the fact that it's our elected municipal officials who've allowed this festering sore of illegal suites to ruin RS1 zones, not just in Burnaby, but all over the GVRD.
I plead guilty.
What are you going to do about it? Are you just going to lead a move now to legalize them all, where the health and safety factors are okay, up your assessments and say, we need the accommodation?
No, Jack, I think that we have abdicated our responsibility in the past by suggesting that we would enforce the bylaws on complaint. That, quite obviously, has not worked. It has expanded. What I believe is needed at this time is a united effort on behalf of all the mayors and the planners in the region to use their collective wisdom and brains to come up with some method of stopping any future expansion and looking after those that are there without impacting on those citizens that have got trapped in an illegal suite.
And look at all these people who build the illegal suites. Look at the people who advertise illegal suites. Look at the people that make extra real estate money by breaking your laws. You've let them get away with it too, haven't you?
The game is over, Jack. I believe that, well, the first meeting was held today with our planners regionally. Every municipality acknowledges that we have a problem. Every municipality, I believe, acknowledges that we have allowed people to build structures to almost completeness and then abuse the bylaw. And that has to stop. So I'm sure that when the regulation comes down that we will go collectively and stop that.
Mm-hmm. Now, for instance, why haven't you taxed all these illegal suites and at least collected some money? You and the other people, Vancouver's just as bad. They've got 21,000 illegal suites.
Well, firstly, Jack, you can't tax something that's illegal. As a matter of fact, in the case of Burnaby, we had a residential neighborhood environment study about 2.5 years ago. It was dubbed the compaction study, and when we talked about legalizing some of these illegal quadruplexes and looking at other land uses, and when we went out into the community, the citizens rose up in arms and were ready to scalp us. And, you know, I don't have much more to give.
In other words, they want the RS1. They want the single-family dwellings, even if they don't complain to the neighbors. They don't want a house next door with 2 illegal suites in it.
They generally want their neighborhoods as they are. They will allow some change because there is a requirement for change, like family rooms and ensuite plumbings and plumbing and a few things like that. But they don't want dramatic change in their neighborhood. And to that end, I tend to agree with them. Well, that we should go slow.
Tell me about the little snooping you've been doing yourself lately and how you've been so embarrassed.
Jack, I, on Saturday, was out investigating some activities or some locations for the council meeting on Monday. I went past a piece of property in middle part of Burnaby. We had just rezoned it 6 months ago from a duplex lot and splitting it in half to making it 2 R9s, and there was an open house. And so I walked in and was greeted by the realtor, and he said, "Are you interested in the house?" And I said, "No, I'd just like to look through it." I did look through it. There's a basement suite. I said, "Oh, what is this?" He said, "Well, this is the basement suite. Can I see upstairs?" And it was duplicated equally in good taste upstairs. And I said, "I can't understand that. Isn't this an R9? He said, "Yes." And I said, "Isn't there a restrictive covenant on this to indeed allow only 1 suite or 1 family dwelling?" He says, "Oh, yes, but you don't worry about those things." And I said, "Well, I do. I'm the mayor, and the game is over." And I intend to do a lot more dropping in. I did indeed call in the one on Mosscrop Street about 2 months ago, found 2 suites in the basement. So we have a density there of 3 instead of 1. In the case of the one that I looked at down on Sprott Street, it had density of 2 instead of 1. In the case of the one I'm investigating right now on Capitol Hill, it has a density of 3 instead of 1 family. That type of abuse can't be tolerated.
And again, you said, look, this is wrong. I'm the mayor of Burnaby.
Yes.
Now, can these people correct that just by going back for a new permit of some kind?
No, because in these cases, they're small lots. They're 33 by and 120 in the case of Capitol Hill, and they are too small to accommodate other than single family.
Don't you have the power to challenge or lift the licenses of real estate agents and or builders who have quite obviously with deliberation got a permit for one thing and built another?
We have to have a charge against the builder, and then we have to have him before the council to show just cause why we should give him a business license. Mm-hmm. And we can then say that if you don't have a business license, you'll never get a building permit again. In the case of the realtors, the Realty Act covers that, and they have to have full disclosure. And you'll notice that in a lot of the ads, they will say mortgage helper or unauthorized suite, and that's how they get around
mortgage helper.
Yes.
And then you've got a little ad here that I'll have to see. I won't say it. We're going to give the address. 3 suites. It's an address in Burnaby, isn't it?
Yes.
Total rental $14.95, panoramic view, etc. These suites, 2 of them must be illegal.
That's correct, they are. And of course, because of the mortgage helper,
the mortgage helper,
the $1,495 that is the revenue, it puts the value of that house up. It's now listed at $152,000. If it was a single-family dwelling, the property would probably go for $129,000.
You can't increase the assessment on illegal suites?
No, just on the assessed value of the improvement.
Now, what about the human side? Forget all the fiddles. What about the people living in them?
Jack.
Mind you, at one time a basement suite was $200 a month. Now it's $600 a month. What about the human side? You're not planning any action, are you, to throw people out in the snow, either you or throughout the GVRD?
Jack, there isn't a member of any council in the Lower Mainland that wants to impact the social problems that we've got. What we do have to do is look at the number of illegal suites, look at the priority and phasing out of these illegal suites, and make sure there is accommodation within the municipalities or cities in the Lower Mainland to accommodate this type of exodus from the illegal to the legal. And that's why I believe that it had to go regionally, because whatever we do in Burnaby is going to impact on the other communities. So I believe that we had to go collectively to look at it, because we might have to go to the province to ask for a legislative change, to indeed lift the license of the individual contractor that abuses the bylaw in Burnaby and have his license lifted for Vancouver and all the other, as well as the realtor that is selling without disclosing, to allow the people that have purchased to go back after him or his company, and indeed to have their licenses lifted as well, or suspended.
And you mean it?
I do, yes.
But you don't have enough inspectors to go around the place, nor does anybody else, and say, that's wrong, take it out.
No, we don't. And I don't think there's enough courts to look at all the
So
issues.
you're looking for a gradual progression of common sense and sanity and an overall GVRD law.
Yes, and indeed we talked to the Premier on Friday at the Premier's conference to talk about traffic court, bylaw court, so that we can free up some space in the event that all this starts happening, that we will have time to get them into court.
Another question. You've got the mega houses. Was it in Burnaby that the guy built a house with 8 bedrooms and 8 bathrooms as a single-family dwelling?
No, he indeed tried to do that, and we, through the bylaw that we have,
That's an
caused it not-
apartment block.
Oh, it was a 4,300 square foot lot and a 4,100 square foot house. And clearly it would dominate the area, and we believe that it would cause devaluation of others in that area.
Oh, I'm snickering, but if I lived next door, I'd be ready to flip my gasket.
All those people were in our council chamber expressing exactly the same reason.
Can you do anything about it?
Yes, in that case, we refuse to give them a building permit. Now, we stand at some risk that he will take us to court, but we're prepared to go to court at this time because we believe that we can stand in court and be justified to not issuing the building permit that is clearly out of character in the neighborhood.
At least you're spotlighting the problem.
Exactly.
And maybe real estate men and builders will be a little more careful now that they know you're on the bit.
I think that the naming of the ball game being over will cause them to be a little bit more cautious.
You're the chairman of the GVRD committee, aren't you?
No, I chair one of the committees of the GVRD, but I have suggested in this particular case that the executive committee, all the mayors of the Lower Mainland, deal with it at the executive level.
Bill Warren, your calls about illegal suites. Don't have to stick to Burnaby. We'd like your experiences after the break. My guest, the expert on illegal suites, is Bill Warren, Mayor of Burnaby. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I live in Vancouver, and I'm hoping to sell my house and move into Burnaby. But the first thing the realtor said to me was, "Do you have a suite?" And I live in an RS1 area. And I said no. And that immediately penalizes me because I don't have an illegal suite. And if you pick up the MLS catalog that the realtors all have, they're just loaded with them. I mean, it makes me so angry that I'm being punished for obeying the law. And all I want to do is have a nice neighborhood to raise my family in.
How's that, Bill?
Well, he's absolutely right. As a matter of fact, in the last multiple listing document that came out in Burnaby, there was something over 500 listings. 105 of them were illegal.
Is that okay for the real estate to do that?
Yes, they only have to disclose that there is an illegal use or unauthorized use or mortgage helper.
Mortgage helper?
Yes.
It's not a wee man with a shovel downstairs.
No, I think
it's the income from the illegal suite.
All dollars and cents.
Go ahead, please.
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm chairman of a residents group in Vancouver that's been protesting the illegal suites and the huge houses. Now, I would like to suggest that there are two levels of power in the civic government, the elected officials and the staff that deal with the day-to-day operation of the city. Now, the RS1 bylaws are pretty clear in their intent, and the staff are the ones who have chosen to interpret them in a way that has given us the present mess. Do you really think that changing the bylaws will change anything if the attitude of the staff doesn't change? You know, Ann
Okay. Just a minute, we'll get you an answer.
Well, I can't speak for any other community other than Burnaby, but I would suggest that our staff are very conscious of the problem. We are, through the Housing Committee that is chaired by Alderman Emmett, looking at amendments to our building code and the zoning regulation. In doing that, we will address some of the bulk houses. We may not be able to address the illegal suite because they are put in after the final inspection and before the sale. We would hope to be able to come to grips with both of those issues.
After like Jimmy Hart showed them on the air the other day, nice little kitchen downstairs, no stove.
Right.
But a space for the stove.
Yes,
You
and
know,
the fridge.
And the fridge. Not a bar, it was a kitchen, but that goes in after the final inspection.
Yes, and it's even so blatant that all the kitchen cupboards are in.
Thank
already.
you, sir. What about compassionate, mother-in-law suites? Are they all right anywhere?
We allow in all zones in-law suites. We are told by our solicitor and by others that if we acknowledge that there is an in-law relationship and if we do allow that suite to go in, that under the new Charter of Rights, we cannot stop other people from going into that suite because the relationship is not a factor insofar as space. We've acknowledged there's space enough for the person to be there, and so therefore it doesn't make any difference whether it's mother-in-law, father-in-law.
The Charter of Rights.
Yes.
So the hell with your bylaws.
Yes, and the other thing I'd like to bring out to you as well, Jack, is the new liability insurance. If indeed we have an illegal suite in our community, and we are made aware that it is illegal, and if it has been put in by non-tradespeople without inspection, and if an electrical fire happened and a death took place, then we could be enjoined in the action and held liable for the knowledge and not acting on it.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening, gentlemen. Mayor Lawan, very simple question. I've called your office several times, your engineering department. Basically, I live on Hersham Avenue in Burnaby, and in the past 2 or 3 years, there's been several new buildings built on our, what we'd call 2 blocks area. I don't care if there's 20 people living in each house, but what I am worrying about is the parking restrictions.
We're talking about illegal suites, but we'll take
I know, but some of these people who move into these places have 6 and 8 cars. They block all the way up the street to the residents that lived here for years and years and years. We cannot park because somebody moves in and they got
Okay, we get the message. Is
Yeah.
that connected with the problem?
Oh, absolutely, Jack, because if it doesn't have lane access, and if it just has one driveway going in on a 33-foot lot, you've got one that can park in the garage, one can park on the house, and you've got two illegal suites that are going to create another 2 to 3 cars. So they park in front of somebody else's home, and that's where a lot of the problem is generated.
Well,
Because
definitely, you know, you have your own taxes that you pay, and you think you should be able to park in front of your house, but they go by your house and into the neighbor's property and all the rest of it.
Well, just a minute. There's nothing there for you can do to help this man.
No, except that we said that there should be lane access if we are going to do any of these rezonings as one of the principles.
Oh, the problem with the laneness, sir, is that basically the houses are built just about right from the back of the property to the front of the property that you've allowed up here. You can put maybe 2 cars at the back and 2 at the front, but then they've got another 4 cars. Where are they going to park?
Fair enough. And another 10 cars, it would be even worse. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think this is ludicrous. You know, having thousands of people,
Carry on.
having thousands of people that are going to lose their homes because they can't afford their mortgage anymore. And having thousands of people, I think they should do a study. How many hundreds of thousands of people are going to go on welfare because they can't afford to pay rent?
You mean other than in a cheaper illegal suite?
Pardon me?
You mean other than in a cheaper illegal suite?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think you heard what we said. We're certainly not going to try and put people out on the street without other accommodation. Then I think we'll have to go back to find out under what pressures they purchased the building, whether or not it was disclosed by the realtor that this was an illegal suite. If indeed they purchased on the basis of being illegal, then while I have sympathy for them, they might have to bring it into conformity.
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Hello.
That's you.
Yes, we live in a legal suite in Vancouver. Quite some time ago, I phoned up City Hall, and I was complaining about the roof leaking, which they fixed. Now, the wiring in this suite, you can see, which is awful dangerous in itself. Now, when is Vancouver going to start this?
Well, Vancouver would...
This is an awful dangerous place to live.
How much do you pay, by the way?
$3.50 a month.
Carry on, Bill.
Well, Vancouver indeed will be joining with us in this development to bring things into conformity, at least to find out how to bring it into conformity. I don't expect this is going to happen within tomorrow or the next day. It can't possibly happen that fast.
But what you can do is you can stop these flagrant defiers of your laws.
Absolutely.
In all the municipalities.
Absolutely, Jack.
And when the mayor can walk in and say, what's this, it's illegal.
And it's all over our municipality, and I would suggest it's all over the other municipalities as well.
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Yes. How far does this sort of investigation into illegal suites go in the Fraser Valley? Does it take in the other regional districts as well?
No, I've just brought it up at the executive committee of the Greater Vancouver Regional District.
Yes.
And,
you see, we have a great problem. I'm in Abbotsford. We have a great problem here, which is growing by leaps and bounds. And taking it up with the municipality, they keep on insisting that the criteria for a suite is cooking facilities.
That generally is.
Yes, but you can have a suite with all the other facilities, a sink and running water and everything else. But as long as it hasn't got a range in it, they say it's not an illegal suite.
As long as it hasn't got a visible range in it.
Well, I say that these days you don't need a range to put in cooking facilities.
I would
All kinds of plug-in
Okay.
I would suggest if the other two regional districts in the Lower Mainland wanted to have a watching brief with us, we would not have any objections. We would love to see them there as well.
You've all got to come to the same
Exactly.
conclusions and the same enforcement and the final analysis, so you'll have a hard district and a soft district, problems, no problems, and problems.
And as a matter of fact, we'll look at the range of difficulties too. You know, you can be really hard and put everybody out in the street.
No, you can't.
And nobody's going to try that.
No.
Or you can take the soft line to say that there is no further expansion of this, and we will look at suitable accommodation for these people that are put out, and we'll also look at the financial problems that we might create.
Go ahead, please. Last call.
Hello. As a student, I'd like to point out to the mayor that the importance that this illegal housing has on students. It provides close access to the university as well as cheap housing. And I was just wondering what alternatives there would be for the many students at UBC and SFU.
Well, in the case of SFU, we are discussing at the present time a a village concept up there for student accommodation that will come forward in the next 6 months. We acknowledge that is there. We acknowledge that that there is a need for student housing, and I think in the case of BCIT, they've built some and they are going to continue to build more. That's a real problem. There's no question.
And it's mostly money.
Oh, exactly. It's money.
Well, just to wrap it up now, we've got to warn people that the GVRD is beginning to look at an overall conformity and how this will be reviewed, handled and tackled in the future. And builders and real estate people in Burnaby are warned that you might wander in and say, hey, this is illegal.
Yes, and I want the message to get out that the ball game is over and they better not do it any further, or we will have injunctions against their property so they will not be able to sell them until such times as they're brought into conformity. And that's a hard line, because I don't want that to project into unknowing people buying something and being stuck for the mortgage.
Good for you. My thanks to Bill Lewan, Mayor of Burnaby. I'll be back after the break. I have a satellite dish over in Salt Spring, and nobody can sit in the same room as me in that satellite dish, because I just go from channel to channel, scores and scores of them. And every second channel I finish up with cable shopping. Buy this wonderful, gorgeous, solid gold diamond, solid gold ring. You know, it's worth $3,855, and you can have it for $9.95 today if you phone in your Visa number. There's a reason to my hysteria. I have Ken Fowler, who's the Vice President of Shaw Cable here, and I have His Eminent Worship Frank Nave from Nanaimo here. And I just wanted to have you in to vent my spleen to say that what I've seen on American cable shopping is just awful. Why did you get into this business?
Some people don't like game shows, Jack, but I wouldn't ask them to come off the air. Some people like teleshopping.
How widespread is the evil of teleshopping in British Columbia?
I would guess there's probably 20 cable systems carrying it now, and eventually I would think they'll all have some version of cable
Must
shopping.
be at least 10,000 people watching.
Sure, at any time, yeah.
I'm pulling your leg. How many do you think are watching?
We call it recreational shopping, Jack. No one is going to watch it all the time. It's like, would you read the classified ads page by page by page? It's a flipping channel.
It depends what I'm looking for.
Right.
Now, as
Same
a
thing.
consumer, however, I must heap scorn on you, because when you buy from a cable system, you don't know what you're buying, do you?
There's a 100% guaranteed return within 30 days.
Who guarantees it? You or the cable shopping company?
We are a carrier, just like you're a carrier for advertisers in BCTV.
Oh.
The cable shopping network, which is the supplier, guarantees it, and they've been in business in the States for 2 years. They've established a record. In the States, this is the same type of a service. The average buyer buys 15 items in a year. So if you're not supplying good service, if they're not happy, why would you buy 15 times?
Well, I may be slightly off my rocker a little bit and indulge in unwise impulse buying like all these people that rush around to buy all these lottery tickets. Mr. Ney, what do you think of cable shopping in a hard-hit area like Nanaimo, where your retail stores and all your shopping centres are having a tough enough time as it is?
Well, it's only been in Nanaimo about 10 days now, but it's serious and it's totally new. And I'm just a messenger boy here today from the merchants of Nanaimo who've come to City Hall and said they're most concerned of the effect this may have on retail shopping in Nanaimo. And we've sent letters off to the CRTC and the Public Utilities Commission in both levels, provincial and federal government, asking them to put a freeze on this until they have an impact study.
Now, the provincial government does have some say. Does the provincial government have any say in the licensing of cable signals in the province?
No.
McGeer used to think he had, didn't
Yes.
he? What
And,
happened to that?
Well, a couple of things. There is an order in council which the provincial government passed, which no cable company has, that I know, has complied with.
I mean, you're ignoring the orders of the government too.
As far as we know, it doesn't cover us. We're federally licensed, just as you are in BCTV.
What does the order in council say?
It says that you must apply for provincial license, and no cable company did, and nothing's happened since.
Well, I know that, well, the provincial government are concerned just how much power they have to work on this as well. But, you know, I don't think it's a thing you can take very lightly. They're selling 25,000 items, but the Wall Street Journal says that this could be the beginning of a retail revolution. And these companies down in the States right now, they're merging. At the Wall Street Journal, they pointed out that the one stock went on the market at $3, and within 4 days it gone to 38. And the other major company, it started off at $18 a stock. It went up to $39 in 5 days, and 6 weeks later it was $120. So the stock market is saying this thing has a great potential, and they're talking about taking 10 to 15% of the market
Frank,
in the next few years.
Let's put this in a context, because that 10 to 15% figure, if you sat down for 5 minutes, boggles the mind. The experience in the States has been running for 2 years, okay? If you take that experience and put it into the Nanaimo market, about only 8 or 9% of the viewers buy anything to start with. As you say, Jack, it's not for everybody. So
no, you can't feel the item, you can't look at it, you can't bounce it on the table.
Did you buy a car or a suit? All right. The figures in the States, if you relate them to Nanaimo, say that if we had the same experience in the States, you'd probably have between $200,000 and $600,000 worth of merchandise purchased in a year. And that may sound like a lot, but the retail trade in Nanaimo last year was $230 to $260 million. That, if it does as well in the States, it's 0.1% of the retail trade. What's all the fuss about?
All right, well, now Combe, they're down there. They've merged down there in Florida. Yeah. They're building a warehouse with 260,000 square feet at $25 million with a potential for 4,000 salesmen. And they...
but this is for the American
market. For 110 million people,
Frank. But they started off just a year or two ago. They had $400 million in sales this year, and they're predicting $1 billion to $2 billion next year. It's catching on.
Yeah, but that's for the whole of the United States. There's signals. Oh, by the way, people have
40 million people they're servicing.
40 million.
Yeah.
What about the deregulation? Is one of your points that being in the retail business, these people should have to buy a retail license?
Okay, let's get down to business here. When the Cablevision came in, I want to say this, Cablevision in Nanaimo does a great job for the community. And when it came in originally, they weren't allowed to advertise except for community events. It was a community station. It was never, we thought, intended to go into the retail business. But now they have a monopoly channel, and they're getting a commission on the merchandise, and they're competing against our merchants in Nanaimo. Now, if our merchants are, Nanaimo, incidentally, has more shopping space per capita than any city in Canada, and we have fierce competition, and that is why buses come in from all over the province to shop there, because they get real bargains in Nanaimo. But if they lose 10 to 15% of their business, some of them, a man who's selling tomatoes, he won't get hurt. But what about jewelry shops? What about people who sell Chevrolet cars or Pontiacs? And they're going to sell those right from the factory, or refrigerators, name big ticket items where they...
You see he has some legitimate fears for some retailers, because you're going right into the market, you don't pay a business license of any kind, you've got no connection with the community, money-back guarantee, and Visa. What's Visa now, 18%?
Mm-hmm. Just a couple of things. We're the carrier, like a newspaper carries mail-order advertisements, like you carry mail-order advertisements. Contributing to the, we contributed $70,000 in taxes to Nanaimo last year as Shaw Cable. We spent over $1.5 million in payroll and investments in Nanaimo last year. But get this back into context. This figure of 10% was printed in the newspaper, and it's totally ludicrous. That would be $30 million. Can you imagine $30 million being spent on television in Nanaimo alone?
Well, it'd be $23 million if we take the $230
Now, I had one lady phone me up. She said, my husband almost divorced me because I was spending so much money with my credit cards. But she said, we passed that a lot. We're doing fine now. But she says, I know what's going to happen with a lot of ladies. They're going to be there all day in their living room with those credit cards and those things being advertised. They're going to blank out the full credit of their credit cards, and they're all going to be in trouble with their husbands. Right. A social revolution, too.
This is the problem with retailers. Right now, this is a new thing about in the last 5 or 10 years. It's called remote marketing. The Globe and Mail has a page on mail order marketing. The BCTV carries advertisements that say, phone this 1-800 number, give you a Visa card. It's being done by radio, by television, and by newspapers. Now, And I would bet that the total sales of remote marketing via newspapers and television is probably more than what we'll do in the cable thing.
Oh, okay, now maybe...
Mind you, it is kind of unexpected because at one time you couldn't do anything but carry community announcements.
Yeah.
Now you're free under deregulation, do you like?
Right.
In effect.
After a long haul, if the commission finally said,
All right,
look,
we may be overreacting, but you know, and I know at this stage your advertising is kind of a mediocre content, but I always think of the dentist. He puts the needle in and then suddenly your tooth is out. Now, when you get into real sophisticated advertising, there are some retailers that are very, very vulnerable with this type of advertising. And we depend, 40% of our taxes in Nanaimo come from the retail industrial section. If they get hurt, how are we going to service our city? We need that tax money.
Fair enough, we'll leave that. That's a fairly broad discussion. He pleads not guilty. He's deregulated. He pays $70,000, spends $1.5 million in Nanaimo. But we're talking about the whole area. You express the fears of the smaller towns, which are already not in the best of economic health, and you want to make sure that if somebody's doing retail business, they behave like a real live, on-the-ground retailer.
Well, I remember what happened when they brought in the mail catalog in the little general stores on the prairies. They got badly hurt, and that wasn't a monopoly type of selling because anyone could put a catalog
And
up.
since then, the catalogs have died, and this new monster catalog live in front of your eyes has appeared.
I think we've got, you know, the price vigilance. That's what we need, vigilance.
Eternal vigilance is the price of freedom, competition, and profit. And we'll be back.
the role of freedom.
We'll be back for calls after the break. I see you beat Graham Roberts for mayor at Christmas.
Yeah.
Good man.
Which man?
Both of you. Anyway, let's go to the calls. This is Ken Fowler, Shaw Cable. On this is His Worshipful Honor, Frank Ney, Mayor of Nanaimo. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Jack. Before I ask my question, I'd like to make one observation, and that is to the Mayor of Nanaimo, Frank Ney. I think your argument with concerning the credit card purchases or the extravagance of purchases by ladies sitting around watching the TV really doesn't hold any water. I think that's a separate issue. Those same women can go down to Eaton's or Woodward's and tally up their whole limit in one afternoon if they were that irresponsible. However, I think my criticism for this particular concept is we live in North Vancouver and we've noticed on Shaw Cable these advertisements, and I think that the products, possibly the quality, is very, very questionable with the prices and the manner in which they sell. I find it's offensive. They go on and on and on and try to sell a $30 bracelet for 15 minutes.
Okay, what do you say to that? Although you're not the Canadian Home Shopping Service, you're Shaw Cable.
But we carry it. It's, as we say, it's not for everybody. It's interesting. We did check this company out. They've been on the air for 2 years in the States. They're affiliated. The Canadian company's affiliated. And the one thing that has been established is the product is good value. If you order it and you don't like it, they include right in the package a return address to where to send it back. That's part of their whole package. 2020.
Jack, would there an alternative be to placate or to soothe the fears of, let's say, the mayor? Why couldn't the merchants of Nanaimo, in conjunction with the cable company, have their own shop by cable?
Doesn't that make sense, does it?
Well, that's another thing, but this gentleman's worried about the quality of the merchandise. That worries me too, because if I owned the Cablevision station, and this is only new, and already people are upset, I wouldn't want to come on too strong. I'm a salesman. I would come in very quietly with innocuous type of advertising until everything gets going, and then I would really hit them with new cars, refrigerators, television sets.
They don't sell
everything.
major items, do they?
No.
They're selling tractors down in the States right now.
There's been a lot of experimenting with selling by television, interaction where you can actually order up and punch in a little keypad. Nothing has worked until this came along. And the key is that it's recreational buying. You would never buy a refrigerator or a television, but you might buy a $25
You would if it's a brand name refrigerator at
Yes,
half price.
I agree.
No.
Sure you would.
You know what a brand name costs in all the stores, and if they can get it right from the factory and just add a few bucks on and ship it out, look at all the people they cut out.
By the way, you get they don't pay for the time, they just pay you a commission, is that right?
Yes, our contract is 5% of the total sales.
5% of the total. And they pay sales tax in BC?
Yes, they do.
They'll do that on a bulk basis,
You know,
I
and
presume.
Sears now are talking 800 stores going to go onto the same type of advertising in the States. So it's nothing to feel that it isn't here to really...
You certainly don't need any clerks working and living in the local communities, do you?
Well, that's because the retail sector are one of the biggest employers.
Go ahead, please.
Well, I consider this perhaps a threatened interference with free enterprise. If we're going to restrict what I can or cannot watch, or what I can or am not exposed to in retail selling over television, then I presume we're going to cancel out real estate ads, automobile ads, and just about everything else. Also, I think, of course, they're making a great mountain out of a molehill. Person has a choice to watch this TV advertising or not watch it, the same as we have watching BC TV or not during some of your advertising. I think this is a ridiculous...
Mountain out of a molehill.
Okay, now he may say that, but maybe we are going to have a retail revolution. But the only thing I'm going to say is it's going to change our lifestyle, and cities are going to have to readjust their concepts of how to collect taxes to make a city run.
Well, even shopping centres did that. Shopping centres killed downtown of big metropolitan cities. It's just a development you have to come along.
And I'm the last one to, I have to agree on this, that you can't stop progress. And the world, robots, everything, they're here to stay. Yep. But it's still a concern to a retailer who's got his life. And when the horse and buggy and the Ford Model T came in, I guess we had the same problem. And
my great-grandfather was a carriage maker.
Yes, I know. This is, but it is it's a source of concern.
Go ahead from Seattle, would you believe?
Thank you, Jack. It's very interesting listening to these wonderful Canadian enterprising businessmen, but as a Canadian who lives in the United States and Seattle chooses to live here, I guess it's the same old story. You Canadians are afraid of the competition in the United States. When are you going to get off your butts and start talking about little old ladies doing their shopping and whatnot and get down to being a little competitive? The fact of the matter is that Canadian business is competitive and can be competitive, but until you hackneyed people with the briefcases and the gray suits get out of Canadian politics and you stop your bickering, those of us who are down here in the United States and who wish to have a free enterprise system and a relationship between the United States and America will not happen.
No, of course it won't.
My question is simple. Oh, don't interrupt now. The question,
yes, I will.
Simply, the question is, to the gentleman from Nanaimo, when are you, sir, going to start to come into the 20th century with regards to Canadian competitive enterprise?
Well, I've been a free enterpriser all my life, and I've run one of the biggest companies in British Columbia for over, we've been in the Big 50 on the Vancouver Stock Exchange for over 15 years. I believe in free enterprise, and I know you can't stop progress. And I run a very competitive business myself, and 3 days ago, I had someone come in, they wanted me to put a satellite up and start doing real estate by television.
But let me give him a shot. I'm not quite as free enterprise as you are, Frank, or you are, Ken. You, sir, are speaking from a nation in which there are 33 million people not covered by any form of health insurance, where your charity cases are being refused admission if they don't have money up front to get into hospitals. We may be not as bright as you are, but by God, we're more human and more decent to our people.
Jack, it's hackneyed, Jack. I'm a Canadian.
Not
I live in the
hackneyed.
United States, and that's...
You've been brainwashed. You must go now. Nice of you to
We
call.
want to hear positive input from Canadians. There's a lot of good talent up there. People like you, we don't want to hear the negative stuff. Maybe when you start thinking on the positive end of it, and the fact of the matter is that we can become a Canadian enterprising society.
Enough, you've repeated yourself. I'm going to cut you off now.
People like you will
You must
decide
go.
to step aside and let us younger people come back to Canada.
Good idea. Thank you. How bad, finally? Where are we? How are we doing? We are kind of making a mountain out of a molehill. You know,
I don't think we are. I think that...
But, I mean, I wouldn't live in the States for all the money in the world.
Oh well. That's
Good evening, Jack.
Good evening.
And gentlemen. Well, I think our whole problem starts in Ottawa with the CRCT. They have got to start clamping down on these cable companies. for the simple reason is in Vancouver here, we have a cable company that's changing our stations all over the damn dial. Eventually, you'll see that every station that we have now, we will have to pay for. And that is going to hurt a lot of people.
You mean on the converters?
Yes.
You got to get a converter.
That's right.
I know they're changing the stations on me all the time, 410, 14, whatnot. I don't know which thing to punch up. I'm going to keep going with this after the break. Frank Ney from the Nanaimo, His Worship, and I've got trouble you and
Ken Fowler.
Ken Fowler of Shaw Cable. I don't know if we'd be making bricks without straw or just creating a storm about nothing. How are things in Nanaimo?
Well,
You're the guy that was worried most of all about this.
Well, Nanaimo, I think, had one of the biggest booms in Western Canada when things were going 3 or 4 years ago. But the bigger the boom, the bigger the drop-off after. That's the law of mathematics, I guess.
Are you coming out of it at all yet?
Well, I think we are. We're going to try and make Nanaimo a retirement mecca, and I think we can do it because our housing prices are less than half of Vancouver.
We've got a great cable system.
A person can have a $100,000 home over here. They can sell it, go over to Nanaimo, buy the same home for $50,000 near the ocean, and have $50,000 in the bank, and overnight they're retired. Their lifestyle changes completely.
Prices are that low?
Yeah. Yes. Well, mind
They're
you,
pushing it a wee bit.
No,
You haven't got a nice 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom house at $50,000 overlooking the water.
the average price home in Nanaimo is $58,000.
Well, that's not 50.
And here in Vancouver, it's 115.
In the range. I was telling Frank at the break, we grew 1,000 subscribers in Nanaimo last year. That's the first time we've had real growth since the early 80s.
Grew. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I rather suspect the mayor from Nanaimo is also a husband, and maybe he thinks his wife isn't bright enough to ignore these things that are flashing up on the screen and use her credit card for these things. But I think it will apply to all impulse buyers. I myself would not buy a product I've seen on these. I've watched it in the States. I've seen the same merchandise on sale in stores I've been to and found the same prices, if not lower, and I can actually see what I'm getting.
Thank you, ma'am. This woman sends her regards to your wife.
Yeah, well, there was a lady that told me this was one of her fears, but she did admit she had credit carditis, and she was worried about other ladies who have had the same problem. But men have the same problem, too. I'm not a chauvinist.
Thank you. Go ahead, please, from Victoria.
Yes, I believe I'm a businesswoman, and I think there's too much competition in the States than there is in Canada. And you talk so much about the States. I think you should go back to the States and deal with the States about this because there's so much less competition.
None of us is from the
Have a
States.
chance out here.
Well, she must be watching a different television station. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Jack. 2 questions. One is, I wonder about, like, when you give your credit card number over the phone to purchase, what happens?
Okay, I tried it. We had the service on for 1 hour, and I said, if we're going to supply it to our subscribers, we should try it out. So I phoned down. They were featuring Splash Dance, which is a radio you can use in the shower. Great product. You phone down, rang 7 times, fellow comes on. I said, I want to buy the Splash Dance. He said, fine. He asked for my address, my postal code. I gave him my Visa number.
Did you give him your...
I gave him my Visa number. And one of the precautions that they have is that they have a bank computer, and they will check your postal code and your address against the address on your Visa card. And if they're not the same, the transaction's canceled. So there's that security against, and they will only have one Visa card at one address. They also
For
ask
myself,
for your, yeah, they ask for your birth date and your anniversary date because they're going to send us cards when it comes anniversary time.
I see. And the other guy, Jack, about the guy from the States?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The guy from the States used to stay down there.
Yeah. I agree with you entirely. No, I don't understand that. If I give my Visa card number and I'm prepared to pay 18% if I don't pay it up quickly within the due time, he checks my postal code, my address.
Yep.
Well, anybody can know my postal code, my address,
but not your Visa number. No, what's the protection against is somebody getting a Visa card and ordering something for themselves. If I try to place an order and I have Jack Webster's Visa card and I give my address, They won't do it because they know the
And if
computer
you give
knows.
Jack Webster's address, it'll go to Jack Webster.
Yeah, and you'll get the Splash Dance radio.
And then I'll send the bank my money back.
Get your money
and I'll
back.
lose the use of my money for 14 days and lose $3.26 interest.
Whatever the interest is on
For
$20.
3 days and for 2 weeks.
Jack, I wanted to say one thing. You know, I'm over here, you know, expressing our concern about it, but you know, and maybe it's going to come. It's just a question of in what abundance. In Nanaimo, as far as the retail market is concerned, does very well. They have wonderful stores there, very, very competitive.
I thought you were afraid of the competition from cable shopping.
If they're going to take 10 to 15%, I think the merchants are concerned just what type of competition, because they're cutting out so many levels.
But Frank, as a
the
matter of
jobs,
fact,
the taxes, do you pay 7%?
Yeah.
Yep, they pay full tax.
But a lot of things there that are being eliminated, it could be a fierce type of competition.
I should tell you, Frank, that the Canadian home shopping people are appreciative of Nanaimo. This is probably the best advertising they've had in Canada because they don't believe their service is that good. And if the merchants in Nanaimo do, I mean, they're...
Well, it's given me the chance to say today that the competition in Nanaimo is very competitive, and consequently, when people shop there, they get good value for their money.
Oh, enough. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Good.
I think it's a great idea. I walk miles and miles in large shopping malls, and then there's very few clerks. You have to do everything yourself. As a matter of fact, I'd even like to see grocery shopping over cable.
You will do in due course, ma'am. I hate to tell you.
It will help shut-ins. I have to agree there. I mean, people who can't get out, it'd be
Go to television. Go ahead from Victoria, please.
Yes, Mr. Fowler, Mr. Ney, and Jack. I find it really, really appalling that such a service is being offered simply because of the fact that the cable company should spend less time putting a service like that on the air and more time developing better educational and family programming. I'm really appalled at that. Plus, I think it's going to encourage a lackadaisical attitude amongst people in terms of their getting out to the stores to do the shopping.
Thank you.
It's a matter of choice. We currently have 22 channels on Nanaimo.
Fair enough. 22 channels. A matter of a choice. I don't think I would buy anything on a cable shopping thing, would you?
Well, I never get time to watch it
That was a great radio. You should try it. You take it in your
but
shower.
I have watched it, and it's only new. It's only been there about 10 days.
Well, don't forget, you came over here against it, and you've got to leave here against it.
Well, I'm here. To
I got to
oppose
go too. My
Take back
thanks.
one thing.
My thanks to Ken and my thanks to Frank, and I'll be back after the break. Tomorrow we've got Jack Kemp, the Minister of Forests in the BC government, to talk about his white paper and talk about the tax problems and to talk about his Japan trip and to talk about jobs for people who need them badly. We're doing something with some of these entrepreneurs like we did last year. Tomorrow on Webster at 5 p.m. precisely. Stay tuned for Tony.